Who knew? Tēnā koutou katoa, my name's Mascoll. So I'm going to do a half clicker and half, we'll get to my first slide, and microphone, and she told me right. So we're going to go right. Okay, so this is me, 4-year-old version of me on the far left. Oh, we'll go right. Okay, I'm going to put this down. I'll put this down, that way I can't break it. So basically my talk is about me and my journey and overcoming challenges. And the first conversation I had was Alana called me and goes, oh, do you want to do a talk? And I was like, yeah, nah, not really. Really, my biggest challenge most days is that I'm an asthmatic and breathing is a challenge, right? So I was like, what else could I talk about? And she was like, tell her some stuff about you. And I was like, I'm a challenge? Anyway, it appears I am. Okay, so 4-year-old me, they sent me to school with the hopes that I was going to grow up to be a nice little girl, My dad had plans that I'd become a lawyer, fail. And then we move on, skip with this picture, sort of like 18 years later, and me and a group of my friends, full disclosure first, I'm an LGBTQ member, they, them, her pronouns, and also I represent a lot of the BIPOC community within New Zealand. So just full disclosure, why there's a rainbow flag. I also recognise that the rainbow in Polynesia represents 2 items. One, it's something to fear, and something to behold highly. Anyway, so back to this. 18 years later, a group of my friends and me wanted to do something. We were tired of going to house parties and unsafe venues, being in hostile environments and trying to be just ourselves. So we got together and we said, okay, what do we want to do? We were like, well, we want a nice venue, we want nice bathrooms, and the other thing we need is it needs to be accessible for everybody, and it needs to be in a safe area. We don't want to ghettoise ourselves. So we went and approached loads of venues and said, look, we've got 500 people on our guest list, we've had house parties, blah, blah. They were like, no. They were like, black, gay, R&B music, are you crazy? And we were like, no, we want to do that. And they were like, no. Fast forward for another 5 years doing illegal house parties with the backdrop of Thatcher England, Clause 28, various other encounters in England at the time, which was incredibly racist, incredibly homophobic, and basically spent most of it trying to send my people back to the islands that we came from, but we were British, so it was interesting. Go back to where you came from, but actually we're from here. Anyway, so that was another challenge. So we go forward to 1993, and myself and Mark have got to a situation where we've got some funds, and we're like, okay, we can pay the extortionate amount to hold a bond to have a club. So then was born Funky Divas, which was called Totally Funk. And Totally Funked was myself, Mark, who's Irish-Polish mix, Irish-Jamaican Patrick, and Chinese-Jamaican, the most fabulous Stephen. Stephen is the person that was probably the most funked out of the Funky Divas because he had the best style, he did the best makeup, and he was fierce. Okay, so then we fast forward. So Funky Divas is up and running. It's 1993. It's a wonderful summer. We've been asked to do different venues. We're averaging every 2 weeks 400 black queer people, Indigenous people in London. This is 1994. Some of you weren't even born in. Every 2 weeks we've got these people. And then we're like, oh, we want to do something else. So 1994 happens and it's Euro Pride in London. And they ask us to do a black experience tent. I still don't know what a black experience is, right? I'm still trying to figure out what that is. But it turned out that day that there was 800 people of colour and other people in an environment playing mostly R&B, house, jungle, funk, and there was no fights, there was no murders, and the police were not called, right? So you'd think we'd be able to get a venue. No. Anyway, I've got 2 minutes, so I've got speed on. Okay. Fast forward to 2005, I moved to New Zealand, and it feels like 1984, being black and gay again. So we set up something called Same Same But Black, And we're currently basically trying to raise a positive image of my people, our people, in queer spaces. So we'll click forward and we'll get to the end, because this is the most important part. Okay, what it looks like for me to overcome, and what it takes all of you to help me overcome. Community, be kind. If you're not sure about something, Google it. It's here now. Be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking about something mean, what's the outcome of being mean? Not usually good. Thirdly, freedoms. We all want freedom, but at the cost of who? Do you know what I mean? Who else has got to give up for freedom? And thirdly, this is my big ask for everyone, understanding. Understanding your social media. Understanding the impact you have. Who you like. Who's in your social group. Who's not in your social group, and why. So if you have currently got 200 members on your Instagram, why isn't there a trans person? Why isn't there a person of colour? Hi. There's a challenge, technology. And I'm going to end on a last note and say, just understanding is the biggest cause for me. I'd wonder if everybody can just add somebody who wouldn't normally be in their social group today in one of their platforms. Interact with something that's not you. Make a better place. So that's my challenge. This was a challenge because I suffer from panic attacks and various other things. So I'm probably going to go home and not sleep for 24 hours. So thank you very much. I'm Mascoll. Thank you for the opportunity.